thank you everyone for joining us for the presentation. And I will be happy to share my experience and to hear from you and maybe to create some things new. I'm going to start with actually with a question. So if you are considering offering personalized learning strategies in your course, what do you think are the great challenge that you are facing? So we can give you a couple minutes. You can write your answer in the chat box. I will read and share with you my comments. So my question is, I'm sure if you are here, you are interested in personalized learning, and maybe you want to use personalized learning in your class, or you can help someone to apply this technique. What do you think are the challenge? So Angela said how to build out an online course to suit different learning needs without overwhelming students with option. I think that is more a goal, but what will be the challenge of doing that? Why it's challenging? Okay, now encouraging students to buy in. Okay, to be engaged. Challenge to create the same content to customize. Exactly. So Lisa, that is actually a very good point, because how can you making sure students are learning the same content, but with different material, with different path, diverse yeah. Another problem is that you have people that are different, right, from different measure maybe. Exactly. So I think Jessica, thank you so much. Challenging to meet students personally with also managing the workload, your workload as an instructor. Yes, this is another point. Yes, because especially if you have a large class and you want to create personal learning, but at the same time you have to manage your workload, that you don't want to overload yourself. And also the fairness. Yes, a lot of completely great points. I really thank you so much for sharing this with me. And now I want to tell you what I think I found the most challenging aspect, and I try to address them in creating a class that is dealing with this strategy. So I'm going to to share my other slides. Some example of I think challenges that I listed before I started to deal with course design, including personalized learning strategies, are the following. Of course, one of the challenge I have is that my classes are large size enrollment. So I have 200, 250, sometimes more students. And another challenge is that class are focusing on mandatory content, so they are required. So there is really not a lot that I can change in a required course. And another challenge is because the students are so many students, they come from different countries, but also they have different academic preparation, different measure. Maybe they have other type of diversity because they come from socioeconomic diversity. And also I was actually I think the type of trigger I had to start this program is because I found that learning disability in classroom is increasing in percentage compared with a previous semester, especially after the pandemic. So, and all of these challenges pushed me to try to find a solution. And so, as we understand now, when you want to apply this personalized learning, but the class is very large and the class has focus on fundamental topics, applying that, it's really challenge. and we talk about the challenge. But the way I try to reformulate the problem is the following. So of course I try to investigate like new technology, or I spoke with people of office of learning and teaching with technology to learn new tools for this idea. And I learned some of the option, but that type of option did not fit my goal, my course. So one things I try to ask myself, how can I reformulate the problem? So I think try to address personalized learning for a class which is large with a topic which is mandatory. It's like equivalent to address the problem of diversity, how to create inclusiveness and sense of belonging in a class which a high number of students and with so many different diversity factor. If I'm able to create inclusiveness in a large class, so if I'm able to address the diversity at the same time, I'm able to be more personal, and I'm able to create a space where students can feel like in a small class. In fact, if they feel in a small class, they feel included, they feel in a safe uh, place for learning, and at the same time you can connect with them better, and you can help them to learn better. So my idea was, okay, this is a challenge, but I can rethink the problem as recreating an environment where people, they feel in a small environment and they are more individual instead of group. So in order to achieve that, I think my main uh, ideas focus on two things. One is providing flexibility, because flexibility provides choices and opportunities. And second aspect that I will show you later is offering extra resources to create different learning paths. So how can we create flexibility? Of course, the first idea I have in mind is to offer a course that can be in person or online or hybrid. But of course, this is not a flexibility I can offer to my student, because that is decided at a higher level, at the school level, not at the structure level. So the flexibility I try to provide students in my course is giving them the option to choose if they want to take the quiz, for example, within a 24-hour window time. Also, I can offer students the opportunity to take quizzes in group or individually. So they can take the quiz, like low stake monthly quizzes. They can decide to take individually or in group for a stage called collaborative stage. And for the individual stage, they can try to take at home, at the office of disability, or in any other room. And also, I try to provide flexibility in terms of deadline. So I try to making sure that the final goal for students is, of course, to learn how to meet deadline, because that is a important professional skills to achieve. But at the same time, for me, the main content is the students achieve learning. So if they need 24 hours, 48 hours, I give them without any problem, or I provide some small extension. And of course, that is one way to create this flexibility, where this way to offer personal learning through the flexibility. But as I anticipated, another way is by offering extra resources. So when I talk about extra resources, of course, I'm thinking on extra notes, extra work it out problem solution, additional videos with step-by-step process. But I'm also thinking about tools, and especially I'm thinking about tools that create sense of belonging, that creates the feeling to be in a small class, because with that can create a great interaction with me and the students, uh, a lot of collaboration among students, and that it's the way the students can learn more. And by deepening learning, by learning more, they are having a personalized feedback on their learning. And so when I talk about extra resources, so I'm thinking about tools. One tools I want to show is called Slack. I'm sure most of you know Slack is a professional messaging tools that it's used almost in several industries. And I use that, for example, during class, during the in-person classes, for helping students to understanding if they are understanding correctly the topics. So they have an app, and with the mobile phone, they can choose among multiple choice question. And this is a way we can check understanding at a group level to improve learning. But also, uh, students can use the same tool when they are outside class. If they are outside class, and they can use the messaging for sharing question and having other people responding, they create like a community of people who are learning together and in a space that feels safe for everyone. We can also do this type of Q&A during the lecture itself, where of course students can ask questions in person, but I'm sure there are students, especially in a large class, especially people who are not comfortable to speak, that prefer to write a question. And having my TA or me moderating this chat helps students to, to have the answer right away. This is another example where I use Slack for collaborative group for a class where students work together to create project. And so as you see here, students can learn to each other and can teach to each other. So this is an example of student that learn, now I see where I went wrong. So there's a way for them to get a feedback personal on what they are learning from a teammate. And of course, another way I help students to improve learning and to reflect on what they learn in class is by creating a daily survey I create in Canvas, and I called quick review request. So the students are allowed to ask me to recap or to review any specific topic in case was not super clear. And I use that information typically to respond immediately by the end of the day to the students, so that in that way, student can clarify things right away. But if I see that a group of students asking the same question, typically, I create a short video, maybe 2-3 minutes, where I respond to that question, maybe using some editing some notes, and I post in Canvas. And then I making sure all the students can see the link. Otherwise, I use that question as an opening question, opening in a topic when I start the lecture the next time. And so that is another way students, they feel learning more because I responding to their question. I respond immediately. And I can tell you that that simple daily quickly survey, which is also daily comments you get from students, it makes a huge difference on the way the course is organized, the course is perceived, and the learning of the students. That tool alone can have a huge impact on students' score at the end of the semester, based on my experience. But another tools I think it's important that creates this opportunity for learning, opportunity for reflecting on learning, and opportunity to make sure students feel that you are there for them. It's Gradescope. So I'm not sure if you already know Gradescope, but just quick presentation. Gradescope is a digital platform for grading. And it's of course it's completely different from Canvas, which is a learning management system where we allocate the content of our course. In Gradescope, the reason why I use Gradescope is because first of all, I'm able to use the same format of quizzes and final exam, either if the class is in person or online. So there is no change of format of the quiz depending on the modality of the course. And this is why initially I said that my course is iFlex in that sense. But second, because to grade a quiz in Gradescope, you can have an option to grade single step of the process, of the solution process. Instead, in Canvas, you have to grade one work all together. But in Gradescope, you have a very refined step-by-step grading process with a rubric that you can customize yourself. You can create the rubric yourself and you can use to grade. So, but one of the reasons why not only it's important for grading, because in a large sites, Gradescope allows you to reduce the workload. You know, you wanted to reduce manage your workload. Gradescope, it's wonderful for that. But also, the reason why I present in this portion of the presentation is because Gradescope has an option called regraded request. It's one of the feature. So the student can send me a message to the grade request. If you see on the top right of the screen, a student can say, Professor, you did not grade correctly, or maybe you did not interpret correctly my problem. Can you please review? Maybe you can, accommodate my grade or improve my grade. Of course, that is it's driven by the fact that the student wants increased grade, but at the same time, it's pushing them to reflect on what they did on the quiz, but also on explaining using only words about the solution process. And this only stating by wording a process that is part of a technical process. It's actually an important training for improving communication skills. So that is another way students can get a personalized learning on a specific technical topic, but improving professional skills. And by having me responding immediately, can see that I am able to respond on personalized question that he or she has. And also the fact that I respond so quickly and in a direct way, that it's kind of feeling the students is in a small class. That is the way I introduced at the beginning. I want to use tools that help students to feel in a small class, and that actually it's something that help to reach that goal. And one thing I want to tell you, just to share you other information, that the grade requests allow me to maybe taking in a review maybe 15 students who wanted to review the grade in a very simple way, in a very quick time, like maybe in 30 minutes I can review 15 of the students' requests. Instead, if you don't have Gradescope, you have a lot of Q&A, mail back and forward. Some people maybe can be disappointed, and people are taking your office and taking a lot of time. It will be like a huge time consuming. But with that, you can really achieve direct feedback, personal feedback in a very short amount of time. And another things I want to talk about other resources that create personal learning is also the Gradescope that I already introduced previously. But here in that slide, you can see a little bit better how I'm using. So you can see on your left side, the scanned copy of the work of the student that is trying to resolve a problem using polar coordinates and Newton's second law. On the left side, you can see a solution process I created step by step. And for each step, I give full credit or partial credit, depending if the student did correctly or not. Typically, step 1A, it's a full credit for step 1. Step 1B, it's a partial credit for step 1. For example, in this case, student got C, a partial credit for step 4, because the free body diagram for the problem was not provided correctly. So what I did here, starting last semester, I tried to incorporate not only the rubrics, so students, they know where they lost points, but also I create a hyperlink, as you see, circle in the red box, which is linked directly on Canvas, which is the learning management system, and it's providing like a resource focusing on the topic of free body diagram for a polar coordinate, how to draw free body diagram when you're using Newton's second law in a polar coordinate system. So in that way, students not only know where they lost points, but also they know why they lost points. But here, I'm not providing the solution. I'm just telling them you can rework your problem using the correct tool, the correct topic, the correct foundational knowledge that you have to use. And so by linking that, student can review the topic, free body diagram for polar coordinate, and try to respond or rework on this problem. Actually, because this is an individual part of the quiz, students use that to rethink how to solve this correctly. Maybe they have a second chance to take the quiz again in a group, and they can like review and really learn for the second time. But the way I'm using the customizable grading rubric of Gradescope together with links that are in Canvas, it's another way to provide personalized learning. They provide direct answer to their question. And I think another thing I want to show you, another tools that help students to learn more and the same way to feel personal in the class is perusal. I use it a few semesters ago in another class, but also I think it's a good contest to show here. I create optional reading from the textbook, and I assign to the students the day before class so that they come to the class more prepared. So what happens in this perusal? Perusal allows students for reading textbook together. So they are not reading a text alone. They are in a digital environment. They can highlight portion of the textbook. If they don't understand, they can ask questions. You can see on your right side, one student in the red circle ask, "I don't understand what that means." He talk about phasors. And then someone else in the same who was available at the time in green responded that is a complex number. But at the same time he said, "I'm not sure why we are using this for circuit." And then someone else responded, "Actually we are using because that is the best way to resolve electrical circuits." So if you see here, there is a group of people who are trying to help each other, and the first student have a question. She had personalized answer to the question. Now you can tell, okay, this is happening because people are present on the screen at the same time. That is true, but it's not completely true in the sense that perusal allows student who ask question to receive answer by email from other people who can connect maybe 2 hours later, who are not on the connected online at the same time. And so the student who asks question can receive the answer after a few hours from another team. And so this is a way I create the condition for students to feel learning in a personalized way, even if I'm not there at the same time talking with him, but I create this collaborative environment where students are helped to each other. And I think that is a wonderful option also to use. And last thing I want to say regarding the tools that I introduce as resources to create this feeling of belonging is the idea of making sure students feel you are there for them. So I tried every week on the same day, approximately the same time, to make sure they receive a weekly announcement where I remind them the deadline for next week. I share with them some links containing reading material for preparing for the next lecture, but at the same time I try to feel to create an empathy with them, just making some statement where I share some words that can resonate with them at that time. For example, if they are on the end of the semester, I try to communicate that I understand they are busy, they are concerned about, and then, so they can understand that I'm on that side, on their side. But in addition to that, I also try to incorporate a nice vignette every week so that they can try to relax and get some humor from our conversation. Actually, recently I start having students helping me to find vignettes to share, and actually we're voting the best vignette. So that creates also another way to feel included in the environment, even if there is a class of 200 students. That simple but systematic way to connect with them, help them to feel connected, don't feel alone. And I remember one semester where I maybe was a little bit too busy and missed some of the weekly announcement. Student lost a little bit of connection. So I see that. So that is another way that create the connection needed to feel included, and so that improve learning in a way that it feels more personal. And of course, in addition to create this reminder, I also create a small schedule table with what is happening next week or the week after, with some links on deadlines or important resources. But now I want to return to the point. We're talking about extra resources, right? So extra resources, of course, I am providing additional lecture notes, additional videos, specific, solution, sample of quizzes, but and also all these tools I show you. But the main point for me is not the resources that you provide, but the way you are providing the resources. So, and I think that is the main contribution in the way I address the personalized learning strategies applied to my course. And I want to do like uh, like a small metaphor. So you can see here, I just selected small pieces of a tangram. Each of them are single pieces. It's a square, it's a triangle, and I can connect this to the topics of my course. Actually, every instructor have in Canvas topics that are listed by chapter, by section, by week. They are all separate topics, all separate topics. But a way I want to, a way I create personalized learning is by reorganize this topic in a different way, in a way that student can see the same material from different perspective. For example, from a skill, a more like skill-oriented perspective, or from a more conceptual based perspective, or type of solution process that you have to use. And in that way, for example, instead of showing, of course, I'm continuing to show my chapter, my section, but at the same time, I recreate a new organization of the material where they can see the single pieces coming together to create a new shape, like a fish, a bird, dog in the tangram. And each of them in my course represent a different way to combine the topics to create a more complex structure to solve problem. And so an example I can give you is from my dynamics class. So dynamics is a class where I teach students how to analyze the motion of the object around us using forces, energy, and momentum concept. And one of the major difficulty for students is understanding the two level of model we use in dynamics. One is called particle model, where an object is assumed to be a small point mass with no shape, no size. And on the other hand, a rigid body model of the object, where of course it's a combination of different points. So most of the time, these two portion of the topic are addressing completely different chapter, completely different semester. And so one way I try to improve personal learning is to provide, for example, small lecture, extra lecture available only on Canvas, that are optional only, where I can show, for example, some problem where I solve using both idea, both the rigid body idea and particle model idea. And in that way, not only they can understand better each of them separately, but they can see the connection, and they can see the particle dynamics as a small, like a particular case of the rigid body dynamics, where we are making some assumption. The assumption that the particle does not have any shape, cannot rotate. But that is a simple example. By providing a different way to look at the problem, they can deep more in deep. And not only that, this type of resources that it's optional, it's also guided, it's not driven by me, but it's picked and it's chosen by the student itself. Each student, as I said, has a different background, different academic background, different learning style, and can choose different way to look at the same problem. So at that point, each student will drive his her personal learning strategies depending what type of perspective resonates more with them. And that is, I think, the beauty of creating this reorganization of the course material in a way that even from different perspective, things can look different, can look maybe easier, and for people can look easier. For people, of course, it's different. Maybe they choose a different approach, but that is the way the personal learning really can happen. Only if you provide a deep learning, a deep an environment for really learn deeply way, and that can help them to clarify any aspect of the topic. And I think that is one of the things I'm still working, and I think I'm very happy of the idea. Of course, anytime I do some changes in my class, I have to double check that really what I'm making makes sense. And I'm using continuous strategies for continuously improving my course by I start from the learning outcome of the course. Most of the time, they are from ABET course, ABET committee, which are the standard learning outcome for a specific course. And I compare that goals with the assessment of the learning outcomes I make from my course, combining the rigorous, direct, cumulative assessment of cumulative final exam using Gradescope that I showed previously, that actually has a lot of feature for a statistic to do that, combined with more like more qualitative, like perception of how the students feel they are learning, or based on their meter, or they based on what they feel, or based on like some connection I have with the students in class or outside class, or based on some colleague who can stop to my class. So combining all this information, I try to understand if the students are really learning or not, if there is a huge difference between what they should learn and what they learn. Of course, there is a big warning message for me that I have to make some changes. But when I try to address this small changes every semester, I can gradually reach a steady state of my course where the course is actually solid, and it's able to address all the challenges for a diverse and large enrollment group, and enriching the learning outcome, which is the goal of every course. And so for testing my personal learning strategies, I use the same approach. What I want to show you here, it's some of the assessment I got from last semester, this semester, using midterm survey that I created using Qualtrics. So Qualtrics, it's a very nice tools where you can anonymously ask a question and student respond, and then you can analyze the answer. So here you can see I created very specific question about my personal learning. You can see here I talk about faculty flexibility during quizzes, with quizzes have individual, collaborative stage to improve the learning, where you can choose one of the two. And so, or maybe I talk about optional daily reading, I talk about polls with Slack. And by collecting all the students' feedback on that question, I can tell you that the flexibility, optional reading, polls are receiving very, very high score, really exceptional, like 4.5 over 5. In addition to that, I also ask students very specific question, but in an open-ended way, regarding the flexibility to take quizzes online, in person, individually, collaboratively. And I just wanted to share with you some of them that are, I think, more representative. In general, they like a lot the flexibility because for a lot of reasons. One is because taking low stake quizzes instead of midterms or weekly quizzes, it gives them the type of study, but study small portions so they can learn step by step and assess their learning, and they can focus on the learning, actually not on stress on learning a big portion of the course. Also, they like the fact that they can choose to take the individual stage in a time window, because they can find the best way, the best time of the day where to take this work. And they also like to have portion of the quiz that are online, because they feel less stressed. They feel in an environment which is maybe more safe, their house, their bedroom, whatever, or maybe they can go to the office of disability service building. But whatever, for any reason, they feel less stressed, more focused on learning. And actually, also they like the fact they have a collaborative portion, because they feel that they have another chance to improve, and also have a chance to connect with other people learning the same topics. So the flexibility with low stakes, actually, it's one of the most well accepted change I made for achieving personal learning. But I also ask students how they feel about uh, the fact that I'm using Slack polls and other tools like Perusal or quick review requests in Canvas, how they feel with all these tools, so that they can, clarify things on the moment or outside class. So there's a huge also good good perception of all of this. They feel that they have opportunity to clarify right away any misunderstanding in class with the Slack, or outside class with my quick review request in Canvas. And also they feel that the fact that there are some polls in class, they help them to feel more engaged, and in that way they have the opportunity to learn and feel more participating. This is another way they feel more personal, because they feel in a group, and at the time they are in class, they learn things, and when they leave, they know that they learn some things before leaving. And other things, I ask students how they feel with the fact that I offer so many extra resources, not only the classic extra video, extra material, work it out problem, but also the fact that I offer the resources in a different format, in a different way. So also here, there are very, very positive feedback. As you can see, having extra resources helps students to choose uh, different content, different path for learning, because they can choose um, uh, like they can choose to take to learn better using a resource instead of another one, and all these resources are optional, and they can choose whatever they want, but also they help them to improve the learning habit. As you see from the first comment, students say, before I go to lecture, I go to the optional reading, so I'm prepared for lecture. And then if I don't understand clearly the content of the class, I go to review the material that I post after class, and I post some recorded video. Um, and all of this all together help also students to feel more prepared for quizzes. So I would say that all the strategies, the main strategies, the main idea of the strategies I implemented, the extra resources, the flexibility, had a very positive impact. However, as you know, I'm always trying to improve and to make adjustment. I found there are some things that can be also improved. From last semester, I found that offering extra resources can sometimes lead students to rely more on resources instead of coming in class. So maybe they tend to don't show up in class as I hoped, or maybe the fact that there are extra resources, um, maybe they exactly they said they don't come in class, but also the fact that there are so many flexible deadline, they don't pay attention to the deadline. So that of course that was not my goal. So in order for me to fix a little bit this small feedback that I got on the first semester, I tried to make some small adjustment. I did not remove my resources because I don't want to remove opportunities for students for learning, but I create a new requirement for students to be in class. For example, this semester, I create as a mandatory the opportunity to be in class, to work together on the collaborative part of the quiz, only in class. And because of that, of course, students have to be in class. And also, I also requested that the quick review request should be done by the end of the lecture. So students who are in class tend to respond and to respond quickly and to don't miss the deadline. So this is another incentive. Another incentive I provide, it was that if they attend 12 lectures before the spring break, they have extra credit for attendance and type things like that. That is, I think, the type of changes I made. Another things I made is about the deadline. Of course, I don't want students feel too stressed because of deadline, because I want to be support them when they have challenges. So I still continue to offer deadline, but I still try to remind them that meeting deadline is important. So I try also sometimes helping them to create their schedule so that they can meet the deadline. I use the inverse calendar strategies, where if you know what is the deadline, in 1 month you have to present the project. It means that you cannot start to work on the project 2 days before. You have to start at least 5-6 weeks before. So I'm teaching them how to be more professional in meeting the deadline, and at the same time I continue to offer extended deadline of couple days, no more than 2-3 days. So that are the challenges I try to adjust, but still working on improving my course. And now I think I wanted to ask you the question, and I think I'm going to share a Padlet where I want to ask you if you have different ideas. So how do you think uh, we can uh, adjust the personal learning strategies I presented today, which are increase flexibility and offer extra resources, how we can adjust if we see that students tend to skip lecture, um, tend to avoid to pay attention to the flexibility, and also tend to isolate themselves. So I'm going to share um, um, my screen so you can see my Padlet, and I want to also, how do you think we can adjust these strategies if you see students are skipping lecture or they don't meet the deadline? You can either write on the here, or you can also write on the chat box, whatever you feel more comfortable. I already have some of the idea here. So students tend to skip lecture. I try to, yeah, no, the students already have point for attendance, of course. Yeah, thank you. I also give extra credit. Any other suggestion? So, for example, when students are create opportunity for students to connect with each other, asking questions, making comments via Slack, yes, perusal, Q&A. Yes, I think I try to organize to encourage them. Encouraging collaboration between students and group of students. Yes, in fact, this is why this semester students are working in a collaborative portion of the quiz in class, and they are not isolated. They are in class at the same time. They are not isolated. Ask them to present rough draft of work from time to time instead of allocating points for. Yeah, this is another point. Yeah, the final project. Yes. It depends if the course, some course does not have a project. So, but yeah, the deadline are yeah, give students half credit for late assignment. I usually don't like to penalize late students. I try otherwise give extra credit for students who are on time. But this is my personal way to address with this type of things. Try to be always very positive with students so they feel really happy to be in the class and feel the structure as a big fan of their learning as I am. Okay, I think I thank you so much for um, sharing with me your ideas. You can continue to work. We can continue to work together on that if you want, even later. And I will use your feedback to think more about what can I do to make my course always better. And right now, I'm going to return to my slides. So here. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your ideas. And I want to just make a conclusion, returning to the initial point. So, of course, apply personal learning strategies for a large size class in STEM, in the engineering class, where the courses are foundational. It's very difficult, but at the same time, it's necessary because things are important, so they have to learn. And because the class are very large, personal learning strategies are important to use. However, it's hard, but as I show you, if we try to focus on flexibility and provide extra resources or extra tools, we are able to offer students with new opportunities mm, for deciding the path, the time, the pace, and the location where they want to engage with the course content, and that alone help them to study better, to feel more focused on the topic. And that is, I think, um, my conclusion for the presentation. And actually, before ending, I want to say my thank you to several office ruggers who helped me to create this course design of these changes on my course, to the Chancellor Provost office for the using the um, Chancellor Provost teaching fellow program. Also, I want to thank you, the CTAR or OTAR or the Teaching and Learning with Technology office, who helped me a lot. And specifically for this specific project, I had a lot of conversation with Office of Disability, Office of Autistic Center, because again, my trigger started by addressing the point that I want to help students with neurodivergent, like different autistic spectrum, different learning disability. What can I do to make sure they feel more engaged, they can learn more? And also thank you all of you who attended the presentation and share with me your ideas. And I will be happy to respond to a few questions if we have a few minutes. Thank you.